Good morning, dear Sangha. Can you hear me well? Okay. For those who cannot hear me or cannot see the TV, you can move to where you can be near the speaker or near or where you can see the screen. So let us enjoy being together. Come back to our breathing, enjoying our in-breath and out-breath, and enjoying the Sangha around us with 3 sounds of the bell. Respected Thầy, dear Venerable, dear brothers and sisters, dear Sangha, welcome to Blue Cliff. Today is the 5th of November, year 2023, and we are at Blue Cliff Monastery in the Great Togetherness Meditation Hall. Today, the topic is The Way Out is In. You can see through the beautiful calligraphy of our teacher. With everything that's happening around the world today, and with many things that have been happening since COVID, many of us may be concerned, how do we overcome our suffering? How do we stop the violence that is going on in the world right now and in America? How do we take care of ourselves so that we can deal with everything that is happening around us and in us? Yesterday, I was looking at the figure of the mass shootings we have in America. This year alone, we have about 565 mass shootings incidents. And that's like almost like 2 a day. And that's too much. I think in many elementary schools right now, the children have to be trained what to do when that happens. So for the children, for our next generation, they're living in that kind of fear, you know, what's going to happen to me? And many things that are happening right now because people don't have time to look at themselves, to understand their own suffering. Because if we read about these things that are happening, like the recent mass shooting in Maine, we see that that person was needing help. He is in the U.S. Army. He was in the U.S. Army, and he had a lot of difficulties, and the army was going to send him to the institution, to the mental health facility to be taken care of. But before that happened, then this happened. So we know that if we don't take care of our mind, if we don't take care of our beloved mind, then things like that can happen, and it's quite unfortunate. So the first thing we can do is to come back to our breathing. They have taught us over and over, come back to your breathing. When you breathe in a shallow breath, you know that this is a shallow or short breath. When we are breathing in a long breath, then we know that we're breathing in a long breath. And when we breathe out a long breath, we know that we are breathing out a long breath. It means we're just playing the role of the observer. We don't force the breath to be short, to be long. You see that image of the pebbles? This picture I took recently when we were climbing, when the monastic was climbing up on the Smoky Mountain, and we were stopping at various places because the hike was very hard, very difficult. So it's the first time that I learned how to do pebble stackings. And I thought it's going to be very difficult because I've seen people done it and it looks very challenging. But when I just sat still and I just pick up a pebble and then just put them on top of each other gently and mindfully, I see that it's not difficult. If I'm trying to forcing the pebbles to be aligned, then it will fall. It will fall down. So it's like our breathing too. So we want to be just natural. We want to be mindful, and we just want to be with our breathing. We don't need to control it. So when we can come back to our breathing, in and out, we come back to our own island, and we can unite the body and the mind together. And after we observe our breath for a while, the breath will just harmonize itself, and it become very smooth. It's like when you make bread and you put together the ingredients, like the flour, the water, the yeast, and so on, and you blend them together. After you knead it for a while, it will just become very fine. So that's what we do with the breathing too. We just simply observe it, and slowly it will just harmonize itself. And the next thing that can happen when we come back to our breathing is we are aware of our body. We are aware of what's happening with with organs in our body, with the parts of our body. For instance, when I just come up here, my heart was beating because of all this technology, and and it has been a long time since I used PowerPoint, so some technical thing. So when I aware that my heart is beating a little bit fast, and I listen to the bell, and then gradually it just calmed down. So we aware of what's happening in our body. It's like body scanning when you go through the scanning machine. The doctor will let you know what's happening in your liver or your kidney or your heart. So we have a chance to scan our body. And also we become aware of the bodily actions. At least there are 4 basic ones, like the standing position, the sitting position, the lying down position, and the moving position when we walking or jogging or maybe stretching. So we are aware of the different positions that our body take. And when we can practice being still, when we can practice coming back to ourselves, then it will help us to cultivate mindfulness. It helps us to cultivate the true presence. We can be there for our loved ones. We can be there for our friends, for our family, for the people we work with. And at the same time, we can be free of our thinking about the past, about the future. Our teacher called it the NST. Oh, I put NTS. The NST station, the non-stop thinking station that we have that is going on and on and on. But when we have a chance to come back to our breathing, then we stop that. We kind of gradually stopping it. You cannot just stop it right away. Some people say, how come after I meditate, I have more like thoughts coming up or feelings coming up? It's because you are mindful. So the more you are mindful, then you can watch these things. And of course, when we can be aware of our body, then we can relax and heal our body. Sorry. Okay, so the next practice we can do is after we become aware of our breathing and aware of our body, taking care of our body, we can learn to nourish our joy and happiness in the mindfulness of breathing exercise. I think the third one is breathing in, I gladden my mind. That means that we water the seed of joy. And joy, they say, is a little bit different from happiness. Like the last week, I think, or the week before, last week, there was a couple of sanghas coming here, and they offer very delicious food to the sangha. So when we know that they're coming up here, we know they will make some yummy food. So that, the excitement, we have like, oh, what dish are they going to make? Then that is the joy. But once the food is being cooked and we get to taste it, then that's happiness. So we can water joy, and then gradually it will become happiness when it stays longer with us. And you can see the smiling faces of the young people. These friends, I knew them when they were children. They come to Blue Cliff and Green Mountain Dharma Center when they were very young, like 6, 7, 8 years old. And now they're graduating from college. So I think this picture they took when they come here and help in the summer retreat this year. So the first thing that we can do to nourish our joy and happiness is to let go, to learn to let go. Sometimes there are many things in our lives or in our way of thinking that can make us burdensome, and we feel heavy. We want to let go. So usually at the end of the year, we want to think about these things and to improve it for next year. One of our friends here, she shared with me that in her country, at the end of the year, people will start to clean up their rooms and houses and prepare themselves to greet the new year. And I think that's happening for every tradition, right? Yeah. Even for Vietnamese too. Before the new year, we have to like declutter our stuffs, our things, and make everything new again. So by letting go, we can receive, we can have more space. Just like the trees, I was contemplating the trees this morning, the autumn trees. Every winter they shed all the leaves so that next year they can have new green leaves and new fruits, new flowers. So we too, if we want to be a new person, we can learn to let go of some of the things that are not necessary for our lives. We can let go of some of the busyness too. But even though I say that, in reality, we are changing every moment. The philosopher Heraclitus, I think his name, he said that no one can bathe or no one can step into the same river twice. It means that the person who stepped into that river or that river itself is changing all the time. So it cannot be the same person nor the same river. So we know that impermanence, we are changing constantly, but still we can practice letting go. Recently, I've done a fast, the Master Cleanse fast with lemonade and maple syrup and cayenne pepper. I just feel like my body needs to renew itself. We've been going on the U.S. tour for 3 months, and during those times, we ate so many different kinds of food that been offered, and sometimes some of them, for me, don't sit well with me. So I just feel like, okay, I need to like start over again. I need to eat mindfully again, and not just to try everything that's on the table. So sometimes too much of a good thing is not a good thing. And I see the fast really helped me to put a stop and to begin anew again with my body, with my mindful eating. And it also helped me to clear my mind too. I feel it's very amazing. When the body is clean, then the mind is also clear. So there's a correlation to that. The second practice is concentration. How does concentration help us to water the seed of joy and happiness? When we focus, when we can be attentive, we can see the way out better. It's like when the Sangha suggests I give a Dharma talk today, first I didn't know what to share. So I was trying to read some of Thay's teachings and listening to his talks, and nothing come up. And then one day, I just sat at the table and I don't go anywhere. I sat for about 2-3 hours, and when I have that concentration, then this talk come out. So sometimes we need that concentration in order to make us peaceful, in order to make us clear, and we can touch the happiness, the joy in the present moment. And the fourth practice is to cultivate insight. And when we have enough mindfulness, concentration, then the wisdom will come. Oftentimes I share in the Q&A that everyone has their own teacher inside of him or her or they. And we just need to touch that teacher within us, touch that wisdom. Because when you're mindful enough, when you concentrate enough, then you will have that wisdom. And the next thing I wrote is to smile to life. This morning I pick up some autumn leaves. And right now they're very beautiful out there. Last week the monastic, some of us also have a chance to visit Princeton University, where our teacher used to attend and did his theologian major, I think. And the campus is so beautiful. The green grass is covered with autumn leaves like these. And in Thay's journal, in Fragrant Palm Leaves, Thay wrote that, between class, he take the time to do walking meditation. So the monastic, our group also did walking meditation through the campus. And when I make my steps on the green grass filled with the autumn leaves, I felt like Thay is with me, and it's so beautiful. I say, "Oh, Thay, you're so lucky to attend such a beautiful university." So life is all around us. We just need to be in touch with the beautiful elements of life in order to be happy. Recently, we have a young friend. Her name is Kiari. I think she left yesterday. Yeah, and she's a joy to be around. Every time I see her, she just like bright up like a light, and she's very refreshing. And she has a way to connect to people. In a way, it's very beautiful. Before she leaves, she even wrote some sister little notes and shared some pictures with them, some drawings. And she wrote to me like, "Please write back." And she's only 6 years old. So I see that her parents, because they practice mindfulness, so they water that seed in her too. So when we practice to gladden our mind, to water the good seeds, the seed of happiness in us, the benefit is, of course, it will help our life to be better. We can brighten up our lives. And that gives us enough strength to deal with our suffering. After the pandemic, many people suffer, and especially young people, teenagers, they deal with a lot of depression. My niece, she has some kind of depression after the pandemic because she had to study at home online, and she didn't get a chance to meet many of her friends. So one day, in her sophomore class, the teacher asked the students, "What is your major concern?" And this is in Northern California. And almost half the class, the students raised their hands, and they say that their concern is to be homeless. And she was shocked. Because my niece, both her parents are middle class, and she doesn't have to worry about not having a home to stay, because she has 2 different homes. So she asked my sister, "Mom, why does my classmate say that?" And my mom and my sister say, people can still have a job, but they don't have a home. So this is a major problem now in California, especially in my hometown in Sacramento. There's so many homelessness friends all over the streets. And every time I see them, I feel a lot of compassion. And if I have spare change, I'll offer to them. Or if I buy a sandwich, I sometimes give to them. Because now the price of the home in California is so high, and people cannot afford it. So some of them are living in the car to go to work, and then they go back to their car to sleep. So when my niece, she heard that, and she heard the explanation of my sister, she just overcome her depression. Because for her, her problem is so tiny compared to the problem that are out there in society. And my sister told her that, you have everything. You have your parents provide education for you. You have clothes to wear. You have a home to stay. You're more than lucky than many people. So after that, she just overcome her depression. So I think when we can water our seed of happiness, we can also embrace our suffering and transform them. So let us hear one sound the bell. Be grounded. You can see the image of the redwoods. Many years ago, I have a chance to visit the Sequoia Park. How many of you have seen the redwoods? Yeah. Wow, there's many of us. For those who have not seen it, I hope you have a chance one day to see it. It's very majestic. It's so beautiful. They're very beautiful and very solid. Our teacher, I think in one of his poems, he wrote about standing amongst the redwood or some kind of very beautiful tall trees, and he felt like he's in the cathedral because it's so solemn, it's so like serene, and that's how I felt too when I walk among the redwoods. You feel like you're very tiny, and you have all these beings or non-beings, the trees, they're like mothers or fathers, like protecting us. They're very big. And they say the reason why these redwoods can survive and can live so long, some of them, I think they can age up to a couple thousand years, right? Yeah. So because the way they grow is so slow. They grow very slow. Just like the turtle, they are very slow, but they live the longest. So don't think that we're fast. We can outdone the other beings who are slower than us, but we can check again. So the redwoods, they have tannins. And these kind of chemical in the trees, they help to protect them from the insects and from herbivores, from the animals that eat the plants or the bark. And they give also the bitterness in raw fruits. Like if you eat an unripe apple, it's kind of bitter, tardy, it's not very sweet. It's because the trees doesn't want the animals to eat it yet until it's ripe. And they can spread the seeds when it's ripe. So they have these skills to do that. And it's just like us, when we have the 5 mindfulness trainings, it gives us the basic, it gives us the foundations to practice. And the trees also have the mycorrhizal network, which are the fungi's network that clinging to the roots, and they communicate. They use that to communicate to other trees. I think there's a book called Hidden Life of Trees or something. Yeah. In that book, they tell you about how the trees communicate. And they say that big trees like the redwood tree, they play the role of the host, of the hub or the mother trees, to nourish all the little plants and weaker trees. So if you go into the forest and you see some trees that are like dying, but still they're living because they have all this nourishment coming from the healthy trees. I remember the first time when the brothers had to clear the forest and they had to cut down some trees to make the way. And after a few months, I can see that there are branches coming up, young shoots coming up from like the stub of the tree, because the other trees are still nourishing that tree. So they have a way to communicate to each other. So they have some kind of network support. So when we practice and we have a sangha, that does the same thing for us. It helps us to stay supported. It helps us to maintain our practice, our nourishment in the practice. And that's very important. So to be grounded is, first of all, we need to come back and recognize our feelings. How am I feeling right now? Do I feel sad? Do I feel lonely? Do I feel peaceful or happy? There are 3 kinds of feelings. The first one is pleasant feelings. So those are the feelings you can see very easily, like joy, peace, or happiness. And the other feeling is unpleasant feelings. So like I shared, the feelings of sadness, of irritation, of boredom is also unpleasant feelings. And there are neutral feelings when you don't feel much at all, like you don't know whether you're sad or happy. You just feel like neutral. So that is neutral feelings. And our practice is to come back to ourselves and recognize these feelings and to accept them. And we try not to run away from them or oppress them, because oppressing them can bring a lot of suffering. It makes us like bottle down and you can explode. And that's what's happening when for some people who have mental illness, is because they're suppressing these emotions. They don't allow their emotions to come up. So when you have strong feelings coming up, the first thing we can do is to recognize them, to accept our feelings, and to embrace it, to calm it. And when we have enough strength, we can look deeply into our feelings. Why do we have that feelings? Let's say someone unintentionally said something and they make us angry. If we can just come back and embrace that anger. And after a while, after several days, we can look deeply and see, why am I angry? At such little things. And when we can see the roots of anger, then we can take care of them. This past January, my dad had just passed away from his stroke. And before that, I have a chance to look deeply and to meditate on impermanence, on letting go, and also on the interbeing nature. I see that my dad's in me and I'm in him. But still, the grief is there. It's very real. And it doesn't go away. Even though I'm a monastic and I have been practicing for many years, but it is what it is. So I allow time for myself, also with my family. We go through the different rituals in Vietnam. We have, in the Vietnamese tradition, we have like every week, we offer the food and we chant to the deceased. And we gather together as a family, we share about that person. And after doing that for like 7 weeks, so 49 days, it's just amazing. After that period, I just feel lighter. I feel that grief is being taken care of. But when that grief is coming up, I try not to be so active. Like I don't drive outside. I try to stay inside because I know that if I'm not mindful, then my grief, it can overtake me and it can make the driving not so safe. And I water the seed of peace, of happiness in myself by gardening, because my dad, he loved to garden. And I find so much joy in touching the earth, playing with the dirt and planting the little trees, little plants, and seeing them grow. So you can find something to help replace your negative, we call mental formation or state of mind or emotions with something else. You don't have to always deal with it, because sometimes if we focus too much on our suffering, it can make us feel very heavy. So sometimes we need to go out and take a walk in nature, or to garden, to do something you love, like I don't know what you like, painting or playing music or doing something fun. These help us to balance our emotion. So when we practice to be grounded, to take care of our emotion, we balance ourselves and we have some stability. Just like the trees, they're grounded because their roots is deep down in the earth. Another thing about redwoods is that their roots actually go straight down to the earth. So they're very grounded. So we can practice being grounded when we have some difficulties coming up or some kind of emotions that is taking over. We can come back to ourselves and take care of these emotions. And practicing mindful breathing, we become aware of our body, our emotions. We can also take care of our mental formations. Mental formations are things that manifest from our stored consciousness. And when our sixth sense is touching something out there, like our listening, our eyes, our ear, our nose, is hearing something, seeing something, then we touch something and they come up. And how do we practice to be free? So there's a practice called four diligence. The first thing is to refrain from touching the negative seeds. Human beings, we're very intelligent. We know how to do many things, and we're very advanced. But I think the one thing that human beings are not so good at is to take care of their emotions and how to control them. So when we practice to refrain from touching the negative seeds, it helps these seeds to stay down there. When you come to a practice center and there's no TV except this one for the Dharma Talk, you feel like you're more free, right? You're not like disturbed. You're not feeling like anxious. But for some young people coming here without the TVs, without electronics, they feel fidgety. They feel like anxious. They have to do something. So sometimes our brother and sister give them things to do, so they can be occupied and not feel restless. So we can refrain from touching the negative seeds by knowing what they are and not touching them. For instance, if you like to watch the news, but after a while, if we feel a little bit down after we watch so many news, then we can stop seeing them for a couple of days or weeks until we feel calm and peaceful again. The next thing we can do is to embrace and take care of these negative mental formations. So when we have a feeling of sadness coming up, we can embrace it by saying, "Hello, sadness, I know you're there." And we take care of that sadness. It's just like how we take care of our feelings. Actually, there are 51 mental formations. By Thai added some more mental formations. So they're like mindfulness, concentration, joy, peace, greed, and non-greed, and anger, and so on. Jealousy, suspicion is one of the mental formation too. So when these things come up, we embrace those mental formation. We know that it's there, and we don't allow that mental formation to carry us away. Because if we get carried away, then we can say things, we can do things that are not necessary and can be harmful even. And we learn to water the good seeds. We know what seeds have been transmitted to us by our ancestors, when we can learn to water them. Even if we feel we have depression, we can also water the seeds of joy and peace in ourselves. Sometimes most of the depression medicine, they only make us sleepy, and it doesn't help much. So I think we have to actively water these good seeds in ourselves by touching the wondrous elements that are outside of us. We can connect to friends, we can connect to new people, to children, to the birds, to the animals in the wild or at home. And that way we can touch the positive seeds. And like I shared earlier, we can change the CD, we can learn to let go. And it's very important to recognize the habits, like I shared before. We have to recognize, why do we have these mental formations that keep coming up all the time? And if you have something like that keep coming up, then we can look deeply and ask ourselves, why? Is it something I inherit from my parents or my grandparents? We can ask that question. Like my dad, he doesn't like backseat driver. So sometimes when I'm driving and the person sitting next to me or behind me, tell me how to drive or where to turn, even though there's a GPS. Then I feel there's a seed of irritation coming up. And one time I have to drive a very long distance, and this person kept telling me what to do, and I was so tired. And then I asked my sister, like, please, to not do that. And when I look deeply and I see that, oh yeah, my dad, he never feel comfortable when my mom is sitting next to him and be the passenger driver, he also feel very irritated. And in his days, there were no cell phones, no GPS. So most of the time, he have to memorize all the roads by like memory. And sometimes there's too many steps he doesn't remember, so you have to write them out. He kind of make a sketch, where to go, so that my mom doesn't remind him. So when we see and recognize habits like that, it stops us from continue to react and to suffer. And Thầy say, if you love somebody, or if you have a loved ones who are living with you, you can ask them not to touch buttons that can give rise to the negative seeds like irritation or anger or jealousy and so on. So when we can practice taking care of our mental formation, the ALAP up there is to allow them to stay as long as possible. It's not as low as possible in the business world. So when we have the positive seeds, we try to maintain that seed and allow it to stay as long as possible. Just like when you have a good friends coming to visit you, or who are in this weekend retreat, you want to sit with that person as long as possible, right? Because they nourish you. So the benefit of practicing to being free is to free us of many wrong thinking, and it helps us to transform our discrimination, our imaginings, our habit energies. And like I shared before, the healthy body always leads to a clear mind. And a clear mind can also lead to a healthy body. So when we are clear-minded, we know what to do for our body so that it can be healthier. So I'm just reviewing some of the benefits of practicing mindfulness and mindful breathing is to help us to cultivate our mindfulness, help us cultivate our true presence, and to free us from the NST, non-stop thinking about the past, about the futures. But keeping this in mind, it doesn't mean that we don't think about the past, we don't plan for the future. Some people say, oh, you practice mindfulness, you only dwell in the present moment. So how can I take care of my past, take care of the future? Actually, you can still plan for the future mindfully and can still take care of your past with mindfulness. The other day, the Dharma teachers, the monastic Dharma teachers, we just met and we already start to plan for next year. And so you can see that, of course, we have to plan for the future, but how do we do it mindfully so that we can still be in the present moment and not get carried away by the future? And practicing mindfulness also helps us to take care of our body, to relax it, and also to calm the body and the mind. And when we have enough peace, we have joy, we have happiness, we can embrace our suffering. And we can balance our states of mind. We can have a grounded state of mind. and clear our mind from the wrong thinking. And this helps us to have a positive mindset too. For some people that you see they're very positive, it's not because they're grown up that way, because they know the practice. They have to practice. Sometimes, of course, in us, the seeds of suffering still want to come up. But if we have enough strength, we have enough clarity, enough happiness, then we can embrace those suffering. We can embrace those challenges, those problems, and take care of ourselves. There's a saying in Vietnamese, sao cho trong ấm thì ngoài mới êm. It means that when you make the inside warm, then the outside will be peaceful. So like I shared at the beginning, how do we deal with all that violence and suffering that are happening right now? Is to take care of ourselves, to make the inside warm, to bring mindfulness into our life, to bring mindfulness into our family or Sangha. And that way, the inside is warm and the outside is peaceful. And thank you for listening. Oh yes, before we end it, I want to recommend to you this book.